How a bluff helped create Bangladesh. Indian Army's Lt Jacob fooled the Pakistan Army in Bangladesh to surrender with a meager force. It was the crucial period of the India-Pakistan War for the liberation of Bangladesh. The Indian Army had surrounded Dhaka, and demanded the surrender of Pakistani forces. You might think it's normal, but the exciting part is that it is just 3,000 Indian forces who surrounded 30,000 Pakistani soldiers, and demanded an unconditional surrender. This move could have backfired, but Lt J.F.R Jacob, the man of the hour, ran the bluff successfully and made the Pakistani force surrender. The partition. India and Pakistan are two countries that were born out of British India. Britain faced huge debt with British India after World War II and was in a hurry to declare it an independent nation. The Muslim League in British India demanded a separate country for the Muslims, for which Britain obliged. The partition of India led to the birth of India and Pakistan. Pakistan had two portions, East Pakistan and West Pakistan, located on either side of India. In 1970, people of East Pakistan under the banner Mukti Bahini started to protest against Pakistan's discrimination against the people of East Pakistan. The resistance led to violence, and thousands of refugees flocked to India. Pakistan's leaders accused the Indian government of supporting the militants with arms and monetary support, but the Indian government rejected these claims. Indira Gandhi, Prime Minister of India, called upon the chief of the Indian Army Field Marshal Manekshaw, and asked him to prepare for the liberation of East Pakistan. Indira Gandhi wanted it to be swift as she expected a UN intervention. If the UN intervenes, then the war might become a stalemate just like the Kashmir issue. Gandhi also wanted to keep the United States and the Soviet Union, then engaged in the Cold War, from intervening on the subcontinent. Pakistan was a US ally. The invasion of Bangladesh. Field Marshal Manekshaw planned for the invasion to capture every town and city in East Pakistan before Dhaka's capture. Dhaka was the capital of East Pakistan. One of his subordinates, Lt J.F.R Jacob, differed from this idea. Lt Jacob was born in Calcutta in a Jewish family and joined the Indian Army in 1946. He quickly rose to the Indian Army ranks. Lt Jacob's idea was not to waste time to capture every town in East Pakistan. His idea was to affect the Pakistan Army morale and dash towards Dhaka, and demand surrender. As the war started in 1971, the Mukti insurgents sabotaged Pakistani communication systems. Lt Jacob bypassed the strongholds and headed towards Dhaka. In Dhaka, Mukti insurgents were already fighting against Pakistani forces. The UN intervened and planned talks for a ceasefire between the parties. Lt Jacob drafted the terms of surrender with the Indian government before the meeting. In the ceasefire meeting, Lt Jacob demanded an unconditional surrender of Pakistani forces. In return, he assured safe passage for the Pakistan Army officials and their families. Lieutenant Niazi, the Pakistani chief of East Pakistan, was infuriated by this demand. Lt Jacob pulled the perfect bluff even though he knew that he had just 3,000 Indian soldiers while there were 30,000 Pakistani soldiers inside the city. Lt Jacob gave Lieutenant Niazi 30 minutes to think about the surrender. Lieutenant Niazi accepted the surrender and planned it for the next day afternoon. Pakistan Army's surrender was probably the first time a ceasefire discussion turned out into an unconditional surrender in history. The next day the Pakistani Army in East Pakistan surrendered to the Indian military in public. The first Pakistan Army surrender, which happened in public. Only after the surrender did Lieutenant Niazi learn of the bluff, but it was too late. Liberated East Pakistan soon became an independent nation as Bangladesh.